solving quadratics by factoring notes. So we are actually going to use this over the next two lessons. The first side, the first page we're going to use this week, and then the other one we will use after we come back. So it's going to be two separate lessons just on the same note sheet because it's the same concept. I'm just kind of separating out the difficulty level for you. All right, the solution to a quadratic equation are the points at which the function intersects or crosses the x-axis. Okay. The solutions are also referred to as, one of them's up here, x-intercept, zeros, which a lot of you guys are starting to pick up on, and where that point goes into the ground, where your graph goes into the ground on the horizon, the roots. All right. So as a quick reminder, I'll just come over here and sketch a quadratic equation for you. Here is your x, here's your y, and here's a quadratic equation. This would be your roots, your solutions, your zeros. Okay. And that is actually what we are going to be solving for today in a different method. Okay. So we're going to be doing it by factoring, and factoring is where you create your x, what multiplies to give you c, but combines to give you b, all right? And we're just going to do the simple ones today where x equals 1. We're not going to get all technical. So the first thing you're going to do is move all terms to one side and set it equal to 0. Then you're going to factor. That's when you have your a times c and b, right? You're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. So what would cancel that factor out? What would make it a 0? Because if one of them is 0, 0 times another thing is a 0, will answer it. And then you're going to write your solution as a set inside the squiggly brackets, okay? So let's go down here, and we're going to solve these by factoring, doing some examples. So notice these are all a equals 1. So all your a value is going to equal 1. Our first step is set it equal to 0. So when I look at this one, it's already equal to 0. So I'm going to label my A, my B, and my C. And I'm going to do my X over here, A times C and B. Since A is a 1, that just means it's going to be negative 40 and 6. So what are the factors of 40? What numbers multiply to give me 40, but combine to give me 6? As a reminder of how to find factors in the calculator, you go to y equals. You enter whatever number you're looking for the factors of. So I'm going to enter 40. I don't worry about positives and negatives right now. Divided by x. And then you look at the table by hitting second graph. So all the whole numbers, you got 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10 will give me a 6. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to put in a 4 and a 10. Now, for B to be positive, I have to have more money, which means my 10 is positive and my 4 is negative. So negative 4 times 10 is negative 40. Negative 4 plus 10 is 6. Okay, and I will put a link back to the notes that we did here. I believe it's the 5.4 notes just for you guys. All right. So after we do this, I'm going to write my two parentheses, x minus 4, x plus 10. Now, this is not slide divide because we had a 1 right there. So for this step, we are simply going to go to solving it because it's equal to 0. So this is what the difference is. This is going to tell us, what do I need to make this 0? So this first one right here, x minus 4 equal to 0, means to get the x by itself, I'm going to add 4. I'm going to add 4. So it's basically going to be the opposite. So what would make a minus 4 a 0? A positive 4. What would make a positive 10 0? A negative 10. It's the same concept. So I am actually okay if you guys skip this part of it and go straight to this and find your answers. So these are our answers. 4 and negative 10 is where this graph is going to cross the x-axis. To write it as a solution set, you want to put it in order from smallest to largest, and that is it. So this would be your answer to this problem. So a lot of students realize, how do I get rid of a minus 4 with the plus 4? You can actually skip these steps right here if you get fast enough at it when it's these single ones like this. All right, I'm going to show you all the steps though, naturally. So on this one, I have my A, B. Oh, I can't, because first I have to set it equal to 0. Now, I would like y'all to notice that this is a 9 x. That is actually my b term, and it is important you write it correctly, especially if you're going to label it A, B, and C. So here's my A, here's my B, and here's my C. I'm going to come over here, A times C and B. So A times C is 18 and B is -9. Factors of 18, that will give me a 9, okay? Factors of 18, so I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9 aren't going to give me a 9, 6 and 3. 6 and 3. And for it to be a -9, I need to O on both of those. So they're both going to be negative. You have x minus 6 and x minus 3. And remember, it's equal to 0. I need to make both of these the opposite. If I make this one 0, when I do 0 times this, it's going to give me a 0. So that's all I really have to worry about on this. So I'm going to come down here. To get rid of a -6, I get a +6, right? So I have x minus 6 equals 0. So that will be x equals 6. And then I have x minus 3 equals 0, which would give me a +3. So you don't have to show this middle step right here. You actually don't have to show this if you realize that you just need the opposite of what's in there to get a 0. Okay, and that was hideous. Please do not highlight like Ms. Richardson just highlighted. That is terrible. Okay. Yeah, like I can draw a straight line. There we go. I can draw a straight line. All right, so this would be your answer. X equals 3 and 6 would be your answer choices. So 3 and 6 is where this graph crosses the axis. And I'm going to go on ahead and show it to you. Let's pull one of these up and show you the example so you can always check your answer. Y equals, I'm going to clear that and I'm going to plug in the equation equal to 0. So I'm going to plug in this equation right here. If you look at the screen, x squared minus 9x plus 18. And if I look at the graph, I see that it crosses at 3 and 6. So that's how you can check your answers. All right, let's go down to number 3. Okay, number 3 is set equal to 0. So I just need to pull out my A, my B, and my C. So I only have 2 terms. Well, I know x squared is A and the number by itself is C. So my B value is actually what is 0. So I'm going to come over here, A times C and B. So A times C is -25 and my B is 0. What number multiplies by itself to give me a 25 but would cancel out? When there are numbers like this, it's always the square root. So it's going to be 5 and 5. Okay, for it to cancel out, one of them needs to be negative. So let's check our factors. 5 times -5 is -25. 5 minus 5 is 0. So this would be, mark that out. Okay. So this would be x plus 5 and x minus 5. And it does not matter which order you write it. It does not matter. So now let's go on ahead and let's solve this. So to get rid of a plus 5, you would need a -5. And to make this a 0, you would need a +5. So those would be your answer. Your solution set would be -5 and 5. Okay, just as a reminder, what you're basically doing is x plus 5 equals 0. So -5 to get that x by itself. Okay, on this one, you're doing x minus 5 equals 0. To get that x by itself, you're adding 5 to both sides, but I'm okay if y'all skip that step. Generally, when we're in class, we will. All right, so I'm going to come over here, and the first thing I need to do is set this equation equal to 0. So I need to move this +80 over by doing a -80, and that is my C term. So when I write it, I'm going to write it at the end, equals 0 now. And let's go on ahead, let's get that new color out, and let's label our A, our B, and our C. So I'm going to come over here and draw my X. B is 2, C is -80. Okay. What are the factors of 80 that'll give me a 2? Wow, okay, that's a big one. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my calculator. I'm going to go to y equals, okay, I'm going to clear this and I'm going to plug in that 80 divided by x, and I'm going to look at the table by doing second graph to look at my factors. Okay, I have 1 and 80. 2 and 40 isn't going to give me a 2. 4 and 20 won't add up or subtract to a 2. 5 and 16 won't. Oh, 8 and 10, because 10 minus 8 is 2. So the difference is 2 on that one. So I'm going to do 10 and 8. Now it's a positive 2, which means I have more money, which means the 10 I have more is a positive and the 8 is a negative. So I'm going to come down here and write that x plus 10, x minus 8 is equal to 0. So now I'm going to set up each one equal to 0, right? You can skip this step. I'm okay with that if you skip that step, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and show it to you because I didn't do it on the last couple. All right, so you minus 10, so that's x equals negative 10, and this would be x equals positive 8. So your solution set on this, your solution set when you rewrote it would be x equals negative 10 and 8. Okay, so that's how we're going to factor on this one. I'm going to go ahead and do the second set of notes within this video and just let y'all know to start at this time when you read them next time. All right, so this one is where your A value is not equal to 1. So this is where we're going to do our slide, divide, and bottoms up factoring, which we have already done, but I will go ahead and link all that for y'all just as a reminder. It's 5, 6 that we've already done. So let's go ahead and let's do this one. So it is the exact same rules. You're still going to set it equal to 0. Then you're going to have to do slide, divide, and bottoms up and everything. So first thing we're going to do is look at number 5, and it is already equal to 0. So I'm going to pull out my A, my B, and my C. So the difference here is that your A is no longer 1. It is a number. So A times C and B. First, I slide that A to the negative 30, and it gives me a negative 90. And my B is negative 13. So what are the factors of 90 that'll give me a 13? And I seriously don't even know. I had to look at my answer key. So just as you guys might have to do, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do 90 divided by x. I'm going to hit second graph. And 2 and 45, 3 and 30, 5 and 18 might. Let's try 5 and 18. So I have 5 and I have 18. Now for the B to be negative, that means I owe more money. So my 18 is going to be negative. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to write this. Difference is it's equal to 0. And after I slide, then I need to divide by the number I slid, which is that 3. Okay, I cannot do 5 divided by 3. It doesn't give me a pretty number, so that's going to be bottoms up. Okay, and right here you have 18 divided by 3, and that's going to give me a 6. Okay, now you have to set each of them equal to 0 still, so this is going to be a little bit more detailed. If you guys see it, this one I can see the opposite of minus 6 is plus 6, but on this one you're going to have to do a two-stepper. So you're going to have to minus that 5, then you have 3x equals negative 5, then you divide by 3. So this is actually your other one. It's a fraction. So it's not a pretty whole number. That's the reason slide, divide, and bottoms up is so different. That's the reason it's different. But I want to show y'all something else, and y'all might see this and you might not, and I'm okay with it. Notice how this was a positive 5/3. And this was a negative 6. So to get rid of negative 6, we got a positive 6. To get rid of a positive 5/3, we would get a negative 5/3. So I am absolutely okay if you guys solve it that way. That is all right with me. So negative 5 divided by 3 and 6. Okay, so now let's look at number 6. And first thing we have to do is set it equal to 0. And I know some of y'all might want to move the 2x squared over, but I'm always going to move my letters to the left. It's just the way my brain thinks, and it's the way I prefer. So minus x minus 21, I'm going to move them both at the same time. Nobody has the same last name, so they will all be separate. 2x squared minus x minus 21. I'm going to label my A, my B, and my C. So A, my B is -1, and my C is -21. I'm going to come over here, draw my X. So first I slide the A to the -21, and that's going to give me a -42. And my B is -1. So for my factors, it's going to be 6 and 7. So for the b to be negative, I have to owe more money, which is going to make the 7 negative. So let's test it. 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. So I'm going to go down here and write it. And remember, guys, it does not matter which order you write it. Okay. And after I slide, then I divide by the number I slid. And on this one, it is 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. Okay, so let's reduce our fraction. 6 divided by 2 is 3. I cannot reduce 7 divided by 2, so that's going to be bottoms up. All right. Now, we're going to solve them to set them equal to 0 now. So I'm going to come down here, and to make positive 3, that's going to become a negative 3. And 2x minus 7 equal to 0. I'm going to plus 7. Plus 7. So I have 2x equals 7 and then divide by 2. So 7 halves would be my other answer. Okay. So as a reminder up here is the opposite of plus 3 is minus 3. The opposite of negative 7 halves is positive 7 halves. So there is a couple of ways you guys can do that depending on where you recognize it from. I'm okay either way how y'all do it. Okay, I'm okay if y'all skip. I'm okay if y'all skip this part here and go straight to here. I'm totally all right with that. So we will work on that as we go. All right, number 7. So number 7 right here, I have to set it equal to 0. So minus 11x minus 11x. And I hope y'all recognize that 11x is the b term. It is that b term right there. So now I'm going to label my a, my b, and my c. Come over here. First, I slide the 3 to the negative 4, and that's going to give me a negative 12, and my b value is a negative 11. So don't forget, what everybody forgets is the 1 and the 12. The number times itself is my factors. Now, if I owe $11, my bigger number means I'm going to owe as well. So that's going to be x plus 1, x minus 12. After I slide, then I need to divide by the a value. So I'm going to divide by that 3. So 1 divided by 3 does not give me a pretty whole number, so that's going to be bottoms up. Okay. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay. Equals 0. Sorry, I forgot my equals 0 up there. So my solutions are going to be x equals negative 4. And if you recognize it, the opposite of positive 1/3 is negative 1/3. But I will show the work here for you. 3x plus 1 equals 0. Minus 1, minus 1. 3x equals negative 1. Divide by 3. And there's your other answer right there. So my solutions are x equals negative 4 and negative 1/3. Oops, squiggly bracket. Oops, there you go. Now the next one has a few stars next to it because we didn't talk about the big elephant in the room and our greatest common factor, okay? This one we have to take out a GCF first for it to work, okay? Because our a value is not 1, okay? You have to pull out that greatest common factor. It won't work. So since these are all even numbers, I know I can divide them all by 2. So I'm going to take out that 2, and I'm left with x squared plus 3x plus 2. And now y'all might notice, or you might not, that a is 1. Do y'all see that now? So now I have a is 1, b, and c. So this takes us back to just plain old simple factoring. A times c is 2, b is 3. The only factors of 2 are 1 and 2. So I have x plus 1, x plus 2 equals 0. So my solutions would be x equals negative 1, and the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. That's it. Again, you can check this all on the calculator, especially one like that, because that one's kind of funky. Let's go ahead and go check it on the calculator. We're going to go to y equals. We're going to clear it. Okay. Clear it all. All right, I'm going to clear that line, and I'm going to plug in the original problem. So 2x squared plus 6x plus 4, and I'm going to graph it. So I'm going to hit the graph button, and I'm going to see that it crosses at -2 and -1. All right, so some of those that are fractions as well, let's go check this one also. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to y equals. I'm going to clear whatever's in there, and I'm going to type in the equation 3x squared minus 11x minus 4. And I see right here just now that I accidentally left off my squared, so I'm going to go fix that. Oops, sorry about that. All right. And then I'm going to just look at the graph and see where it crosses. So when I see that it's between 0 and 1, which is -1/3. And oops, it's actually a +4. So I'm actually checking my mistake. I made a mistake on here. Okay, so I hope y'all noticed that when we were going through the video, the opposite of -4 is +4. So this should be a +4. Thank goodness I went and checked my answers there. So -1/3 and +4. So I apologize for that. I'm glad I caught it and did the work. That's it.